Welcome back, everyone, to the next installment of Chaos Child. It's still Saturday. Shinjo grimaced. The smell of death was enough to make him nauseous. Actually, it was enough to make him nauseated? Tomoaki Watabe's body had been taken to a university hospital and put on an autopsy table less than 2 hours after his death. Normally, an autopsy would never be held this quickly. There was paperwork that needed to be filled out, and the family needed to agree. But Watabe's death was so bizarre that a cause of death needed to be found as soon as possible. Shinjo had taken a hard line with the superiors and used rather forceful methods to get the family's permission to perform a lightning-fast autopsy. The police force as a whole seemed determined to avoid a repeat of the failures 6 years ago. But what was truly unexpected was Kunosato's statement that she would attend the autopsy as well. Since he couldn't let a civilian, especially a high school girl, attend an autopsy unsupervised, he'd been forced to go with her. The hospital's autopsy room was kept clean, and very different from the musty atmosphere you often saw in foreign movies. But to Shinjo, the invisible smell of death was still thick in the air. It was nothing like seeing a body at a crime scene. It was almost physically uncomfortable. But Mio Kunosato, as near as he could tell, didn't seem bothered at all. Shinjo and Kunosato were watching the autopsy from the waiting room next door. The wall had glass to allow them to see into the room. The external and internal examinations had been completed, and now they were opening up the stomach and examining it.
君はこうなることを予見していたのか?
予見?
今日わざわざ渡部の対談を見に行くと言い出したのはなぜだ? それどころか有村ひなえにも渡部と接触するよう昨日から指示していたんだろう? まさか実は君が黒幕だとかいうオチはやめてくれよ。
そうできるならそうしてもいいかもな。
Wow. Shinjo couldn't tell if she was serious or not. He spent the last several days with her, but he still had no idea what she was thinking.
渡部が殺されるかもしれないという予感はあった。予感を確信に変えるために有村に接触するように指示したんだ。だがまさか今日殺されるという予想はしていなかった。
有村ひなえが渡部に接触すると何がわかるんだ?
She didn't answer him, even though he was sharing police information with her. Would it really kill her to be a little more cooperative?
渡部はあの若さでスクープを連発しすぎていたと思わないか?
ああ。それが何か?
Just as he spoke, he could hear a muffled moan from the coroner. Huh. Probably revulsion. There were microphones in the autopsy room that would let them hear anything said there.
どうしたんだろう? どうしたんだ?
Shinjo pounded on the glass and motioned for the coroner to explain. The coroner nodded and moved the body so that they could see it better. Then he held up a pair of tweezers. Huh. He plunged the tweezers into Watabe's open abdomen. Okay, I thought he was already holding whatever the thing was. From where Shinjo and Kunosato were standing, they couldn't see inside. The tweezers seemed to grab something. That was all he said as he lifted up the tweezers. Between them was... gross. A sumo sticker, in excellent condition. It wasn't twisted or broken. The sticker was almost entirely intact. Suddenly, Kunosato opened the door leading into the autopsy room. Well, you can't do that. Well, you couldn't go in there without changing your clothes or disinfecting yourself. He tried to tell her that, but gave up. It was more important to find out what the coroner had seen. So he followed her in, even though he knew he wasn't supposed to. The coroner said nothing. He just stood silently, holding his tweezers. Even Kunosato was shocked by what she saw in the body. Damn, so this must be serious. So was Shinjo.
これは...
He covered his mouth with a handkerchief. It was just too bizarre. Watabe's stomach was so swollen it seemed about to burst, and inside the stomach, he could see not just dozens, but hundreds of sumo stickers. Well, I mean, he was vomiting them up, but yeah, that's nuts. How did they get in there?
まだちゃんと確認はしていないが、食道にも異常なほどの膨張が見られる。
That's disgusting.
シールが途中で詰まっている可能性が高い。
考えられる死因は
窒息死だろうな。
つまりこういうことか。渡部は窒息するほど何枚も何枚も何枚も。
Yeah, was he convinced that he was eating or drinking and just went until he couldn't stop?
力士シールを飲み込んでいたと。
No one, not Shinjo or the coroner, said a word. By the time Kazuki and I got back from the police, the school looked completely different. Anyway. Yeah, I was right. The sign says, "Welcome." The bustling school building was now almost completely empty. All the police tape was gone except from the gym, where the death had occurred. They must have finished their examination of the area. From the look of things, if I went back to the club room, I probably wouldn't find anyone, but for now...
Huh?
Did they really just wait for us the whole time?
なんだ、思ったより早かったな。
Sarika and Ito were there.
有村は？
警察からまっすぐ帰った。もしかして僕たちを待っててくれたのか？
誰が好き好んで野郎を待たなきゃいかんのだ。和樹のことを待ってたんだよ。
Kazuki gave Ito a little pow.
花ちゃん、騙されちゃダメだよ。しんちゃんは片付けに時間がかかってるだけだから。ん？
こらこら、言うなお前は。
Well, that's what I'd figured, but I felt a little, no, a lot better. I could still see that awful corpse when I closed my eyes. Since I hadn't eaten anything this morning, there was nothing to go up my throat but stomach acid. Because of that, my esophagus was starting to hurt. Just being able to talk to everyone like this made me feel a lot better.
あ、でも片付けってことはやっぱ中止なのか、学祭。
タクが出てった後、アナウンスがあって。
I mean, that really does suck, but yeah, I get it.
そっか。もしかしたら延期って可能性もあるかと思ったんだけど。
ま、しゃあねえわな。なんたって殺人だからな。
And since it might have to do with all the other strange deaths, the school probably didn't have much of a choice.
で、お前らの方はどうだったんだよ。犯人扱いとかされなかったか？大丈夫か？
なんで僕が疑われるんだよ。むしろ重要な目撃者だぞ。
だからじゃねえか。ミステリーで目撃者っつったら容疑者確定だろ。
刑事ドラマの見過ぎだって。
But still, just like Shinjo had said earlier, it would make sense if they suspected me. I think. This was the second time after the revolving dead incident that someone had died near me.
それにしてもさ、本当に今日事件が起こるなんてな。これで俺たちの推測は当たってたってことだな。
そうだな。
I leaned my tired body back into a chair and looked at the map on the wall. Now there was even more evidence. We could be certain at this point that what happened this morning was in some way related to the new generation madness. But we didn't know who had done it, or why. The sumo stickers that made me sick every time I saw them were the only clue we had.
しかも今回の渡部の殺人には、それが直接凶器として使われていた。
は？なんだって？
Ugh. To be honest, I didn't really want to remember that. There was no way to know this unless you'd experienced it for yourself, but seeing something in a video and seeing it in person were two radically different things. The biggest difference was the smell. Yeah. Even if there was no blood, like this morning, there was still a unique stench in the air. Part of it was the smell of vomit and the excrement that slid out of the body after the muscles had relaxed. Wow, they're addressing that? But it was more than that. There was a unique stench the bodies of the dead possessed. The smell of death, you might call it. Whenever I saw the body in my mind, I also remembered that scent.
警察の話だと渡部の死因は窒息死だよな。口の中に例のシールがいっぱいだったんだろ。
シールを口に入れられて喉に詰まっちゃったのかな。
犯人はなんでそんなことしたんだ。つうかさ、そもそも今までの事件と犯人が同じだと思うか。
どういうこと？
だってなあ。
Ito stopped and shrugged. I knew what he was trying to say. If we assume that all these incidents were related, compared to Don't Look at Me, Leaky Noise, and Revolving Dead, this murder seemed very different. The killer jammed sumo stickers in the victim's mouth until he choked. It was cruel, sure. It also felt sloppy, brutal, and crude. Yeah, but all the way down his esophagus and stomach, though? I mean, not that we knew they were in there, but...
僕だって最初はそう考えたよ。警察から話を聞くまではね。でも
When I was leaving the station, I heard the cops talking about the results of the autopsy. They said Watabe's stomach was filled to bursting with sumo stickers. Okay, so never mind. So this case was every bit as weird as the other three. I tried to get out of the chair, but I was still a little tired, so I staggered a bit.
すべての事件の特徴を順を追って見てみると、今回の事件も明らかに同一の事件に属するものじゃないかと思えるんだ。
これまでの事件と共通点があるってこと？
それを聞いてほしい。順を追って話す。
That's right. What I was about to explain included a critical factor that we'd never even considered before. It was what I talked to Serica about before I left for the police station. Oh, psychic?
さっきの話の続きだけどな。聞かせてくれないか。
さっきの話？
言ってたろ。新庄さんと久野里さんの話。能力者とか不可思議なこととか。
ああ、なんだっけ。そうそう、なんかね、変なんだって、これまでの事件が。
そりゃ変だろ。だからこそ僕たちだって追っかけてるわけだし。
ああ、そういう意味じゃなくてね、死んだ被害者の人たちが。最初の犠牲者、こっちみんなの人のニア生のタイトル知ってるよね。
Oof, did we know this?
俺し、未来が見えてしまう件だろ。
Yeah, we did. I completely forgot.
本当にね、その未来を予知できたのかもって。
は？
That's crazy. Was it some kind of joke?
で、次の音漏れたんなんだけど、ライブに来てた人が変だったんだって。
変ってどういう意味だ？
なんか熱に浮かされてたみたいな感じ？歌自体は大したことないんだけど、歌声に取りつかれたみたいな。
Oh. So it's not just being psychic. Maybe people have some sort of mind powers. I don't even know if Leaky Noise knew she had it. Maybe she just has an ability with her voice.
なんだよそれ。よくわかんないな。
そんなこと言われても、そう言ってたんだもん。
まあいい。で、次の回転デッドは？
バイトなのに業績がすごく良かったって。
そ それは単に有能だっただけじゃないのか。
そうなんだけどね、なんかこう相手の望んでることがわかるっていうか、もしかしたら盗聴でもしてるんじゃないかって陰で言われてたみたい。
Interesting. And then we were mentioning, oh, Watabe got more scoops than usual. Maybe he knows where to be. Ironic then that we beat him to his own game. Or beat him at his own game.
私が聞いたのはこれで全部だけど。
Well, we keep having the vision of the hospital. I don't know if I'd go so far to say as we have some ability. That might be a reach.
いや、上出来だ。よくそこまで聞き取ってくれたな。
もしかして役に立つ？
ああ。
Shinjo and Kunasato were talking very softly, so I hadn't been able to hear it at all. It was definitely thanks to Serika that we had this information. But still...
能力？そんなまさか。
おーい、宮代くん、まだなのか？
あ、すみません。すぐ行きます。
After what I'd heard from talking to Serika, it was unbelievable, but if I looked at all the cases so far in light of that...
すべてを確かめるために、もう一度事件を整理してみるから、見ててくれ。
Alright, here we go. Get ready. I turned to face the board on the wall. When I did so, I could feel strength coming back to my tired body and mind. Good. I was fine. What happened this morning hadn't made me afraid. Everyone looked at the map of Shibuya, even Kazuki.
なんだ、円数2をプレイするんじゃないのか？
For some reason, Kazuki always participated when we used this. Well, whatever. I get the feeling this is not a well whatever because this is a mystery game. But we'll see. I should start with the first case. The keys were what I'd heard from Serika before going to the police station and what I knew about the victims. Together they implied that...
そうか。やっぱりそういうことなのか。
No, wait. That can't be right.
けど、そう考えれば全ての辻褄が合う。
Actually, there were a lot of things that could only be explained that way. My mind raced, and soon I felt a curiosity welling up within me that overrode the terror and disgust I'd felt when I was at the scene of the murders.
やっぱりそうだ。信じられないけれど、あり得る。
It was a stupid idea, maybe. But if it were true, it would be incredible. It would change everything we thought we knew about the world.
なんだよ。気持ち悪いな。急に変な笑い声出すなよ。
だってね、なんかいつものタクに戻ったなって。
あ、
Now that I thought about it, I'd gotten so excited that I'd forgotten the nightmares that were going on around me. I should get back on topic.
僕は気づいたんだ。直接犯人には繋がらないかもしれないけど、事件の全容を知る上で、いや、ひょっとしたら世界の常識を覆すような大きな共通点に。
I could see Kazuki gasp in surprise.
マジかよ。
すごい。
Everyone was looking at me as I explained everything in turn.
まず今回の渡部氏殺害事件がニュージェネの狂気の再来と呼ばれる一連の事件の延長線上にあるという話。
でもよ、さっきも言ったけど、ただの窒息死なんだろ？
いや違う。渡部の死因は確かに窒息死だけど、単に口の中いっぱいに力士シールを詰め込まれて死んだわけじゃない。
どういうことだ？
I stopped for a moment and took a deep breath. I knew that when I imagined it, I was going to shiver.
彼は力士シールを胃の中までいっぱいに詰め込まれて死んだらしい。
Everyone's eyes went wide. I could tell that they were trying to figure out the meaning of what I just said.
胃の中まで？それって。
そう、力士シールを無理やり、それも噛み砕くことなく原型を残したまま大量に飲み込んで、あるいは飲まされて、
That is messed up.
それが原因で窒息して死んだ。そういうことになる。
そいつはまた。
雑どころじゃないんだ。むしろあまりにも変質的なんだよ。
だったら確かに今回の事件も一連の事件と同じ流れの中にあるってことになるわけか。
I nodded, then wrote down a brief outline of Watabe's death and pinned it to the map.
だがな、宮代、それがさっき言ってた世界の常識を覆すほどの共通点なのか？
いや、今のはただ渡部氏殺害事件が連続殺人事件の一環であるということを確認しただけで、もちろん本題はこの先にある。
I stopped talking for a second and looked around at everyone's faces.
まずこっちみんなと呼ばれている第一の事件の被害者、大谷優馬。彼は未来がわかると言っていた。
んなのただの煽り文句だろ。
いいから最後まで聞けって。
Ito shrugged and stopped talking.
第二の事件、音漏れ炭。被害者高柳百音の歌声には妙な魅力があったってファンは口を揃えて証言してる。聞いているだけでトランス状態になれるって。
うんうん、あの刑事さんそんなようなことを言ってた。
クラブとかで踊ってる連中と同じだろ。音楽や歌が聴いてる人間をトランス状態にするのはよくあることだ。
人をそういう状態にするにはそれなりの条件が必要だろ。クラブなんかはそういう効果をもたらすために作られた閉鎖空間だ。でも高柳百音がストリートライブをしていた場所は違う。何の設備もない路上だ。
まあいいや、続けてくれ。
そして第3の事件、回転デッドの被害者柿田博則。彼はまるで顧客の心が読めているみたいだったそうだ。
おい、まさか。
Ito seemed to realize what I was trying to say. That's my partner for you. He's got good intuition. He's got good intuition.
渡部のあの写真、力士シールの表情が違うってことは言ったよな。
I'd already told everyone that the expression on the sumo sticker I'd photographed at the Love Hotel and the one in Watabe's article were different.
最初あれはコラージュか何かだと思った。実際渡部にはそういう噂があったからな。でもどうやら違うらしいんだ。刑事に確認してみたんだよ。そしたら渡部の撮った写真には改ざんされた形跡はなかったらしい。となると考えられる可能性は、
There was a good chance that many of Watabe's too good to be true photographs weren't taken with a camera. He probably used some form of psychic photography. Psychography, if you will, with the Polaroid, like Joseph Joestar. I wrote everything that occurred to me down in a memo and pinned it to the map. Ito laughed as I put it up.
いやいや待てって、いくらなんでもそりゃないだろ。
しんちゃん、今ので分かったの
Kazuki seemed irritated that Ito had figured out the answer before her. She started to bang on the walls like she always did.
おいこらやめとけ。
要するに宮代はこう言いたいんだ。今回の事件の被害者に共通するのは、全員不可解とも思える現象を引き起こしていたという点だ。それが意味するのは、
Yes, and that means they. Tricks to control others' minds, had special powers, okay, for both of those. We're aliens from outer space. I am going to make myself an additional save. Because this might be a key moment, ladies and gentlemen. Why don't I go with... had special powers.
そう。彼らはみんな。
彼らは特殊な能力を持っていた。そうだな。
Ito took the words right out of my mouth.
特殊ってつまり？
尾上が新庄さんから聞いた言葉で言うなら、能力者。つまり、超能力者ってことだよ。
超能力？
超能力ってミステリー小説だったら奮発物どころか読者が怒っちまうぜ。
That's kind of funny.
残念ながらこれは小説じゃない。事実だ。
だったらなおさらだよなあみんな。
Ito looked around to the others, expecting their agreement. But while Kazuki had looked surprised for a moment, she'd quickly returned to her usual inscrutable expression, and Sarika was excited about something completely different.
超能力ってあれでしょ？こう透明になって女子更衣室に忍び込んだりするやつ。
That's oddly specific. No, 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 no! Where did that come from?
まあ、そういうのもあるかもしれないけど、普通はテレパシーとか。
テレパシーいいな。携帯電話とかいらないから料金かからないし。
Yup. Forget it. I should just give up on trying to talk to her about anything complicated.
でもさ、超能力なんて言い始めたら何でもありだろう。それこそ誰かが遠くから超能力を使って殺人を犯したとか。
いや、超能力って言っても多分そこまで便利なものじゃないんじゃないかな。せいぜい一つの能力しか使えないとか。それに忘れてもらっちゃ困るけど、超能力者なのは犯人ではなく被害者だってことだ。
Well, also, don't forget the narration even after that first guy with the live stream died. The narration said that they left the room. My guess is that we have two killers with powers. One produces hallucinations of some kind. The other, I don't know. Or maybe the other doesn't have powers. Maybe the other just does the deed normally, while the first person deludes the victim.
でも被害者が超能力者ってことは犯人もそうだってことも考えられるだろ
う。まあな。
If I am correct, that'll make me nervous later in the novel, because am I sure that I am talking to whomever I'm talking to? That was certainly possible. Or, no, it might actually be likely.
ああ、そういえばさ。
Sarika cut the two of us off. Her voice was easygoing and unconcerned.
前にアットチャンネルか何かでそういう都市伝説があるってタク言ってなかった？確か渋谷で生活してると不思議な力が身につくとか。
Well, the earthquake did produce those weird beams of light, right? That's right. How could I have forgotten something so important?
ああ、それなら俺も知ってるけどさ。でもあれって地震で死んだ人の霊が取り付くとかなんとか言われてる話だろ？ いくらなんでもそれはな。
例の話は後付けで、現象だけは実際のものだとしたら。
んなこと言ってもさ。
火のないところに煙は立たないって言うよ。
火の気のないところに火をつけて回るのがアットチャンネルだろうが。
それはそうだけど。
でも尾上は聞いたんだよな、能力者がどうとか言うのは。
そうだよ。警察の人が言ってたもん。
だからってよ。
Ito still didn't seem willing to accept it. Well, I could understand that. Even I thought this was a little crazy, but for some reason it felt to me like this was the explanation closest to the truth.
伊藤の言いたいこともわかる。でも仮説の一つとして考えておいてもいいとは思わないか？
それはまあ。
He fell silent. Normally Kazuki would have gotten bored with all this talking and gone back to her computer, but today she wasn't moving. She wasn't participating in our conversation, but for once she seemed interested.
まあ100歩譲って宮代の仮説が正しいとしようじゃないか。じゃあもう一つの共通点との関係は？
もう一つの共通点って？
Yeah, this one I don't know, unless they mean that it coincides with the killings from 6 years ago.
力士シールだろ。
Oh, okay.
あ、そっか。
The sumo stickers were involved in this case too. No, this time they were actually the murder weapon, you could say.
そもそもなんで全ての現場に力士シールがあるんだろうな。
普通に考えたら殺された人が残すんだよね。ダイビングメッセージだっけ？
ダイイングな。
I was gonna say I've never heard of a diving message, but a dying message. A message left by someone who's dying, often seen in mystery books, where it is left as a clue by a murder victim. There have been several cases where dying messages were left in actual murders.
でも今回の場合は凶器そのものが力士シールなんだから、それは当てはまらない。
となると犯人が置いてったってことだよな。自分がやったってことを分からせるためか、あるいは
誰かに何らかのメッセージを送るためか。
Which meant that card would have some kind of meaning that all the victims understood. But the only thing they have in common that we know about now is that they had special powers. Assuming I chose correctly.
あ、電話だ。
Sarika took her phone out of her pocket and looked at the screen, then frowned and looked at me. Oh no, is this another call from me?
のんちゃんから。
Oh.
ということで、吉祥寺で今行列ができているラーメン店3つご紹介しました。
Ooh, sounds tasty. But we have just had a little bit of a change of scenes, so for now it is time to stop the installment. Well, we certainly made a lot of progress today, didn't we? We saw what actually happened with Watabe, and that was freaky. But it turns out that our protagonists know about it as well, and we've come to a startling revelation, if true. Perhaps the victims had some sort of special powers. If that's the case, then who's going after them, how, and why? I guess we'll just have to dig deeper. Until next time, everyone.